Now I continue today in 1 Timothy chapter number 3 and verse number 11. I've been dealing with the qualification of the deacon's wife. And I pointed out yesterday that it's interesting to me that with all of the importance in the New Testament placed upon the bishop, I think the bishop is the highest office in the New Testament. With all the stipulations concerning the office of the bishop, 17 qualifications that the bishop is to meet, and yet nothing is said about his wife. There's no qualification for his wife. The only thing said about the bishop's wife is the husband of one wife. That's all that is said. When we arrive at the matter of the deacon, we read that the deacon must be grave, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre, holding the mystery of the faith in a pure conscience. And let these also first be proved, then let them use the office of a deacon, being found blameless. Even so must their wives. There's nothing like that said about the bishop. Nothing said about the bishop's wife. Only said about the deacon's wife. Now I'm not prepared to give an explanation as to why the scripture reads like this. I know what I'm reading. I pointed out on the program yesterday. There are some areas in the Bible where I have to stop and scratch my head and wonder about things. And this is one of them. But I know what I'm reading in the Bible. Likewise, even so must their wives be grave. Now this matter of gravity that I was pointing out on the program earlier with the deacon must be grave, is the area of gravitas. The deacon is to be a man that can be taken seriously by the congregation. He is a man that is to be taken seriously. So his wife is to be a woman of such deportment that she can be taken seriously. Now I think part of the explanation of this matter of grave is given in the next statement, not slanderers, a negative. Then there are two positives, sober, faithful in all things. What about this matter of slander? I think that too many of us spend too much time speaking too freely. And it is out of a loose tongue that this area of slander comes up. The only thing I have is my word. And I am positive that I have made statements that were inaccurate, not deliberately, but were inaccurate ignorantly. Maybe I hear so much. I hear something in the peripheral, and I think I heard one thing, when actually what I heard was something else. And yet I repeat what I thought I heard peripherally, and the first thing you know, I've told something that is not entirely true. Now, I wouldn't lie to a man deliberately under any circumstance, but I am positive that there have been times when I've told things that I mistook, that I thought was so. I thought I heard this. I thought I understood that document to say that. Now that, my friend, is an honest mistake. And all of us, in the course of our life, we're going to make some honest mistakes. I thought I owed a certain amount on a power bill or a water bill, when in all actuality it was another amount. I pay my bills in my home, and I sit down at my desk and write checks, and usually late at night, and trying to get the bills paid. And I may think that the power bill was one amount and the water bill was another, and I may mistakenly tell you that I paid so much on my water bill when in fact that was what I paid on the power bill. Those things are, that is not slander. That is a mistake True, it is a misinformation, a mistake, but that would not be regarded as a slander. A slander is when somebody deliberately and openly, willfully gives a false tale or a false report. And that false report is always coupled with a malicious intent. I might have made a comment that so-and-so is married to so-and-so and his wife is the sister of such and such. And I may have their family genealogy a little bit wrong. But if there is no malice there, I am dealing with a simple mistake. I have mistakenly thought people were dead that were not, and mistakenly thought people were alive that had died. But there is no malice there. But when I give a false report or tell something, and my intent is to injure the reputation of another, I'm trying to lessen him in the esteem of his fellow citizens or of his fellow church members, or I try to expose him to an impeachment. We saw that happen in the year 2020. I try to expose him to an impeachment or to a punishment, and we saw that with some patriotic generals whose lives were destroyed, and they were threatened with prison sentences and prison terms. Or when I utter a slander with a malicious intent, with the intent to impair a man or a woman's means of making a living. Now, I'm positive that I will never preach in some pulpits because another preacher got there before me and slandered me in the face of that brother that was there, or in the face of that congregation. And as a result of that, I'm shut out. I mean, I'm shut out. They think I'm something I am not. They think I preach a certain way that I don't. They think I believe a certain thing that I don't. That, my friend, is a slander. But a slander is always is coupled with an area of malice. There is a desire in a word of slander to injure the party that is being slandered, the person that is being spoken against or spoken about. So it's one thing for me to innocently or ignorantly say that so-and-so works in such and such place when they don't, and I'm ignorant in making that statement. I don't know that they changed jobs, or was unaware that they had changed jobs. That's one thing. But it is an entirely different thing for me to say I'm going to make this statement about this individual because I intend to injure them. I want to injure their reputation. I want to lessen the esteem that they have among their brethren, among their fellow citizens. I want to expose this individual to an area of impeachment, or I want to expose this person to an area of punishment. Even in our jurisprudence, it is a crime in society for you to file a false police report and for you to call 911 and say, I just saw John Doe attack his wife Jane Doe, when John Doe in fact did not attack his wife, or when Jane Doe was not the subject of domestic violence. I've practiced real estate to pay the bills. I'm bivocational, and I appreciate having a business, an industry where I can generate a living and pay my bills and provide for my family. In the real estate business, the law in South Carolina sees a distinction between a willful misrepresentation and an ignorant misrepresentation. I had a piece of property listed the other day, and I was not sure if sewer was available, and it's raw land now, raw land to be developed and built on. And so I represented that sewer is not available, and that the property, if anything built on it, have to be put on a septic tank. And I'm not absolutely sure that there's not a sewer line in the road, but I cannot represent that there is a sewer line in the road when I'm not certain there is one. Now, for me to say there's sewer there in the road is available when I know that it's not is fraud. That is a willful misrepresentation. Now, something can be said ignorantly, that's not fraud. Something can be said ignorantly, that's not slander. But when there is a willful, purposeful desire to inflict damage or injury, that, my friend, is slander. So, slander is a malicious utterance. It is a malicious utterance of a false report. It is a deliberate attempt to tarnish or to impair the reputation of an individual by telling falsehoods and false tales, by maliciously telling things that are not true. A slander is a disgrace. A slander is a reproach. A slander is a disreputation. A slander brings upon one an ill name. Now, the negative statement that is made about the deacon's wife, positively she is to be grave. And if she is a woman of gravitas, if she is a woman that is to be taken seriously, then there will not be in her slander. Now, my observation of Washington, D.C., and most of the politicians in Washington, D.C., and the female politicians in Washington, D.C., is they would not be fit to serve as deacons' wives because of the malicious lies and tales that are told by them. She is to be grave. She is not to be a slanderer. I'll continue with this, the Lord willing, on the broadcast tomorrow.